Welcome back to another review, this time Orb on the Movement of the Earth. That finished this week, 25 episodes long, pretty long. We have a little synopsis which is mostly about our character Raphael, who is trying to prove heliocentrism in a world where the church has a lot of control and is promoting geocentrism, which is everything revolves around the earth instead of how it really is, everything around the sun. And it plays in 15th century Poland. So the church has a lot of power, and the story is more or less about him navigating the church and his life while researching heliocentrism. I like the story a lot. I like the how the story progresses. I like the characters. I like the theme. It is a very grounded show in real life. Not necessarily true, I don't really know, but it feels a lot more real than normal animes do. It doesn't have any magic, it doesn't have any fantasy aspects. It is pretty grounded in real life, which I really appreciate. This story is mostly about, especially as Raphael said at the beginning, that you cannot really stop human progress. You cannot stop ideas and you cannot stop knowledge. Humans always like to search and research stuff and find answers to questions we are asking. And this is mostly what the story is about. I do have my problems with the ending. I will go into that later because it goes into spoiler, naturally. It's the ending. The user score is 8.69. From the very beginning, I thought it was a 10 out of 10 show. Even at my 12 episode review, I said 10 out of 10. It is like, hey, I recommend this show to anyone I know that watches anime. That is how much I like it. And even though I do have my problems with the ending, I still believe it is a 10 out of 10 show. It is something I would still recommend to anime fans. If you like anime, you watch Thingy said, I am blanking the name. But Grant? No, whatever. Give it the 3 episode rule. Try it out, see if you like it. You can then, continue watching. And I believe most people would enjoy the show a lot. Now, let me put a spoiler warning in. Let me talk about the ending. This is the part I really want to talk about. So, the spoiler warning again. The first 23 episodes, I believe it was 23, you could have ended the show. When the bird flew away, you could have ended the show. It would have been a nice little ending. I would have no problem at all. However, the show continues. And we get introduced to a new character. And the teacher of the new character is Raphael, which died at the beginning of the show. Now this puts into question, is the whole story fiction? Is it not real? Now the first assumption would be, okay, everything we heard was not real. Raphael didn't exist, at least in the original story we heard. All of that is not real. It is fiction. And I would be somewhat okay with it because the mainstay, the main part is still valid, that you cannot really stop progress. Then Raphael, he is a little bit different. He is very much he is all about acquiring knowledge and sharing knowledge. He's so far into that that he's a little bit closer to Novak in his belief in the church. Novak's belief in the church is the same as Raphael's belief in sharing knowledge. So much that he does kill someone because that other person was presumably destroying knowledge and he couldn't let that be, which not a problem for the character. The problem is that he got caught, which is a little bit different than the Raphael I knew. I would have assumed he had like a backup plan. Seemingly he did not, but okay, fine. And the ending still works fine. You get the character, the new one introduced, how he then gets more or less convinced, hey, you should still go to school, which then goes into real life, how he has influenced someone else to then bring heliocentrism and stuff into our world, in the real story of our world, our own world. The problem I have, the biggest problem, is the letter. Now, our main character gets the idea of maybe geocentrism is not real because he hears about a letter someone is reading out that 10% go to Potocki for the book of the movement of Earth. Whereas our character is like, that is strange because Earth is not moving, heaven is. And he then stands still and is contemplating, is heaven really moving? The problem for me is really the letter, because that letter to be here means that Potocki had to be alive. That means that theoretically Raphael had to write this, because we assume Raphael put that into the box. It could have been the heretic that got released. It could also have been Potocki itself, because he did heretical research at some point. We don't really know what kind, as far as I remember. However, even if someone else wrote that into the box, we still need Oxy to find that box, learn to read, so by then he more or less had to help him there, I assume, and then put that into his own book, which is the book on the movements of Earth. And then we would have had to have someone find the book, which was Jolanta, to then write the letter to give it Rakadaka, I am horrible with names, who then sends the letters with a bird. All of these stories, the whole story had to happen for that letter to appear. And I do not like this at all, because Raphael is here. Now people say, oh, Raphael stands for someone else. I do wholeheartedly disagree with that sentiment, because then we would have had Raphael in the whole story in some kind, to be there to more or less teach everyone along the way, to be like, hey, Raphael stands as like a teacher. Raphael is not real, but stands as like a stand-in for the teacher, for the knowledge, whatever. Do not really agree with that. Then it would be like, okay, maybe the first part of the story is like a fictional story that then bridged over into our world to then deliver the knowledge, which I also don't like, because the whole story is very grounded, very close to real life, and no magic, and then we have like some hand-wavy magic happening. I just do not agree with the letter at all, because it throws everything off. We don't know, is the story now real or not, because Raphael should be dead. It could also be, oh, maybe he didn't die, he survived somehow, which very strange. Drinking poison, not getting burned after now dying as a heretic, not being burned. Very strange that he still survived then. So overall, the letter just doesn't make sense, in my opinion. Now, the story outside the letter, if the letter was not there, would still work totally fine. I do not know why we introduced the letter. What I would have liked a lot more is if someone, like in a tavern or something, was more or less reciting a story about the adventurers of some people that wanted to make a book about the movement of Earth. This is how stories more or less propagated at some point, that you had mouse-to-mouse storytelling. And then the names did not really matter. The names could be interchanged, it could be different names, different people, but in the end, the only thing that our character needed to hear was on the movements of the Earth. And that would have been fine. And we didn't need to be like hand-wavy, it's magic, it's alternate universe, it's Raphael is the stand-in for someone. I just do not like the latter appearing. That is the only problem I have. Apart from that, I still enjoy the show. I still enjoy like the idea that you cannot stop progress. The knowledge is going to just, even if you stomp out knowledge at some point, it is going to sprout back up and everywhere on the planet. And I like the core message. I really dislike the latter. But apart from that, the first 23 episodes are still so good.